This episode of On the Beat is brought to you by Ingles. Shop online with Ingles Curbside Pickup. New curbside stores opening every week. Please welcome Mike Griffith.
Well, hey everybody, Mike Griffith here. Welcome to tonight's Ingles on the Beat show, and it's going to be a lot of fun, maybe even a little controversial. I just can't help myself. When I saw these quarterback rankings come out, I said, all right, I got to jump in with both feet on this. And also tonight, I'm going to talk with Tony Baldwin. He's the Georgia softball coach, and I got to tell you, I covered Georgia softball this weekend, and I really like this softball team. I think these girls are really strong. They're, I think, maybe the best hitting team in the country, and I think the pitching could be good enough to get them to Oklahoma City. We're going to talk to Coach Baldwin, find out where in the heck he came from, and all of a sudden, this Georgia softball team, I think, playing as good as anyone in the nation. But let's start at the top of the show. ESPN always gives us good material. They throw a lot of opinions out there, and this one shook me up a little bit. It shook me up and it shocked me, right? So I've got a story up right now with DJ Shockley. So I'm just going to kind of give you my spoiler alert. I think DJ Shockley was a fantastic quarterback, and I'm going to make a statement here, and it's not meant to offend anyone, okay? I think if DJ Shockley was the quarterback the last 2 years, I think Georgia would have won a national title. Not to say Stetson didn't do a good job. I just think DJ Shockley in that offense would have been unbelievable, the way he ran and the skills. So let me get to the list here. And somehow, of the best quarterbacks since 2000, they have Baker Mayfield number one. And I say, no, he's not number one. They have Cam Newton number two. I don't know anybody watching this. And I know some of y'all don't like Auburn. But I don't know anybody that would take the college version of Baker Mayfield over the college version of Cam Newton. But there it is. Vince Young, number three. I'm down with that. Team Tebow, four. He's got to be in your top five. He just wills his team to win. How about Joe Burrow? Was anybody better than Joe Burrow was in 2019? I don't think so. So the Joe Burrow ranking, to me, a little low. I probably would have had him higher. But this is where it gets interesting, right? I keep scrolling down and I'm thinking to myself, when am I going to bump into a Georgia quarterback on this list? Well, here's Bryce Young, 19. Here's C.J. Stroud, number 20. I see Tua, 21. I'm thinking, come on now. The Dogs have had some good quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, 25. Russell Wilson, 26. Really? Ben Roethlisberger, 28. Justin Fields, 29? You're telling me Justin Fields is better than any quarterback Georgia's had since 2000? Come on, let's go here. Colin Kaepernick, 31. All right, now we're getting insulted by Jason White, 32. Troy Smith, Ohio State, 33. Ken Dorsey, Miami. The top quarterback since 2000, according to ESPN, from Georgia. Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett wasn't even selected first-team All-SEC this year by the coaches, but he does have 2 championships. They've got him one spot ahead of Mac Jones. Not sure how I feel about Mac Jones. Yeah, I think the jury's out. I don't got a problem with Stetson being ahead of Mac Jones. But Aaron Murray, 43. Aaron Murray is the SEC's all-time leading passer. Come on. Do we think Aaron Murray could have won a national championship with Georgia the last 2 years? I do. How about this? How about Eli Manning, 47? No respect for Eli Manning. Oh, there's Kyle Trask, 48. There's still some great Georgia quarterbacks missing. Obviously, DJ Shockley, because I'm just shocked by this. I keep scrolling down. I keep looking to find the SEC's all-time winningest quarterback. There he is, David Green, 69. I mean, were they watching the Dogs when David Green and DJ Shockley were playing? So that's the list of top quarterbacks. I want to get in. I want to get out. I'm going to write about this tomorrow. This is going to lead my post when we do the On the Beat post. Right now, I want to take a quick halftime break. And when I come back, the Georgia softball coach, Tony Baldwin, is going to join us, and I'm going to ask him about this Georgia softball team that's going down to Florida State with a trip to the World Series on the line. So now a message from our sponsor, Ingles.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Well, welcome back to the program. Mike Griffith here, now joined by Georgia softball coach Tony Baldwin. And Coach, let's start with this most recent weekend. I had a chance to come out to the regionals and watch Georgia softball really put bat on the ball. And, I'd written a little bit about the end of the year, and you reminded me that, hey, we're playing some pretty good teams out there, right? I mean, that South Carolina pitcher was throwing as good as anybody in the country. I said, can they get the bats going? 12 runs in the first inning, man. I mean, you had that team ready to go. What was the pregame speech, and can you bottle it up and sell it somewhere?
Well, I think it really started back with hey, if we want to get where we want to go, we got to start getting it. And we got after it pretty good in practice. And I think, as I mentioned over the weekend, it wasn't like we weren't getting after it in practice, but, you play so many games. You're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You take the NCAA day off on Monday. You play again on Wednesday, and then you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday again. And in there, you got to try and prepare and recover a little bit. And so it's really easy for things to just gradually start to get away from what you do well. And so we got a stretch where we practiced for 5 straight days. And, as coaches and the players, we got after it a little bit. And, what I'm really proud of is the way the girls embraced it and just said, yep, this is what we need to do. And then, that led to, hey, it's go time, in the NCAA tournament, you got to let her rip. And I thought we really played with some energy. I thought we played with some feistiness and competitiveness, and couple that with a couple of the adjustments that we made through practice, and it made for a pretty good weekend.
Made for a great weekend. That was the best display of hitting I've seen in a long time. And people don't know this, George, I've covered softball a long time. When I covered Tennessee, I covered the weeklies as they rebuilt that program. And, kind of a funny story, a couple of years ago, when we found out that Coach Champer was going to be stepping down, Ralph Weekly pulled me aside and said, Mike, they got the best hitting coach in the country on that staff, Tony Baldwin. I think he's going to get the job. And sure enough, you got the job. Now, Tony, I want to go back here, a little bio, because a lot of people don't really follow softball close. They'll tune in this week. It'll be on ESPN2. You'll be the front porch of the university on national television when you go down to Tallahassee. But a former baseball player, I saw you played at Butler. You started out coaching baseball. Butler baseball, you coached Dartmouth, Michigan State, my alma mater. You were up there on the banks of the Red Cedar for a little bit. How does the baseball coaching, we've seen other baseball coaches cross over and become outstanding softball coaches. So this path has been traveled before, but what was your story as to how you got into coaching softball from your baseball expertise?
Well, it's all just part of God's plan. So I just, a lot of times people ask me how I moved from baseball to softball. I tell them it's either by God's good grace or pure bad luck. And it just depends on the day as to how I feel about it. I coached college baseball for a long time, and just felt like there was something else out there. And at that time, we'd just had our second child. So my wife and I moved to Athens, actually started running a business with a couple of my wife's college teammate and her husband. And so that brought us down here. And then, by being here, I ended up running into Lou a couple years later, and we started shooting the bull. And the next thing you know, I was coaching softball, and then I just couldn't help but feel like that was what I was supposed to be doing. And like God put me here for a reason. And, I'm thankful that he did.
Well, a lot of people don't know this. At the end of the 2021 season, Georgia made a miraculous run to the Women's College World Series, and Coach Baldwin was the player's choice. And I remember talking to Josh Brooks about this, because conventional wisdom at a program like Georgia, which is one of the most elite programs in the country, the most in-state talent, probably one of the top 3 or 4 states in the nation, you don't typically go in-house and promote within but with Coach Baldwin's background in baseball and with his level of expertise. But what really put him over the top was he's the player's choice. And that's a really fine line to walk, Coach. But I saw how the girls, responded to you and how they respect you, and just the way you're able to motivate and coach them. It really seems like you've built a really good team chemistry. It reminds me a lot of what Kirby Smart talks about, with that family atmosphere. Can you talk a little bit about that approach and how this team has evolved to kind of be what they are right now?
Sure. I think at the end of the day, what I do as a coach is it's a people business, and I got into coaching a long time ago because I had somebody that lifted me up and made me feel like, hey, I can be more than what I am currently. Where I felt like growing up, most of the coaches that I played for, they just told me I sucked, and they identified all my problems, and there's no shortage of problem identifiers out there. But having somebody in your corner that can help you be a problem solver and help you learn to be a problem solver and help you go through it. And I'm an old guy now, and there was a whole lot less stuff going on in 1990 than there is today for our players in 2023 that creates the stress and the pressures and all of those things. So, for me, my job is to be there to help them learn how to become the best version of themselves. And that means I've got to praise them when they're doing it the right way. And I have to hold them accountable when they're not. And I think that all then stems from a level of trust, of consistent communication. And I think, that's really what it's all about. I'm invested in them. What I get the most joy out is seeing them celebrate their successes because I know how hard they work to get there. I really feel like a big part of my job is to stand out front and take the bullets when things aren't going well, so that then they can feel strong to go, fight the fight. And then when they succeed, they get to stand out front and take all the praise.
Well, case in point, and as a sports writer, you love to see these kind of stories evolve. But, Coach, you had a player, you said 14 weeks in the making. And, Sydney Chamblee is a player, a Georgia girl who came to Georgia. She's a junior, about 6th, 7th in the order. There was nothing crazy about her numbers. She has a 7-for-9, 4 home run, 13 RBI weekend. Just one of the most incredible regional performances I've seen. And she talked about the determination and going through it, but she also talked about, you standing behind her, or Dallas Goodnight, a leadoff hitter. Her numbers didn't look leadoff-y in terms of batting average or on-base percentage, but you kept her at the top of the order. And I said, Coach Baldwin must see something in this player in practice. There's got to be a reason. And sure enough, she was outstanding. She was a spark throughout the week. She's a great defensive player, a transfer from Alabama, another former Georgia high school player. Really just some dynamic coaching and development, I suppose. And I guess I'd ask you, what would you say about those two players, that have kind of just stuck with it and kind of had their breakthrough at just the right time?
Yeah, I think they're two very different people coming from different places. When you talk about Sydney Chamblee, the battle this year has just been the burden of her own expectation. Last year she was having an all SEC, all American type of season when she got hurt. I think at the time she got hurt, about halfway through the season, she was hitting about 400 with 9 home runs at the halfway mark. And so, sitting out and watching and then coming back with all of the anticipation that she wanted to do that again. But that's just not the way the story goes in sports, and so when things didn't get off to a great start for her, then the mental game really gets going. And we've had a lot of conversations about how she's coped with it. And I've held her accountable at times that maybe she didn't really, understand it at the time, or maybe, it's like anything else. People always want you to tell you the truth as long as it's what they want to hear. Right. And so sometimes, I have to tell them the truth and it's not what they want to hear. But they know that I'm telling them that because I love them and I care them, and my actions, are going to be behind that. And so while she went through some ups and downs, we were in it together. We've had some really good early work hitting sessions, and that's where I could start to see, the thing start to become less complicated. This game, sometimes the better you get, the harder it is to have fun playing this game. And so we just got back to some of the basics and some of the work. And, you'd like to think that, it's just some magic dust and you get one thing right and it happens, but it doesn't work that way. So it was, I feel like we really turned the corner about a month ago. And, we started getting some better at bats, and we started making some adjustments. And this past week, a light switch like really went off, and all of a sudden it was like, there it is. And, so then it was not a surprise. I'd actually given a lot of consideration to moving her up into the lineup going into the weekend, just because I had a feel like this. Now, to think that what happened, that's what I thought would happen, that is not accurate. But I felt like she was going to be in a good place. But, nowadays in 2023, it's a lot different than it was when I was younger. We've got all this technology and stuff. We've got a program where you put in a lineup and it'll run a 10,000 game simulation, in a minute. And so you just keep plugging people in and figure out where the best spot in the lineup, where they're going to get the most opportunities with runners in scoring position. And ultimately, how do we score the most runs? And, and that's when it came down to Dallas. It's like, yep, she's been through a rough patch, but we still believe in her. I think that's what kids need more than anything today, is people that believe in them and that their actions are going to back that up. And then on top of that, we kept running these simulations, and all the lineups that scored the most runs were with her at the top. So I said, all right, we'll keep doing it.
Well, and Georgia did lead the SEC in scoring and home run hitting. I believe it's right now the best team east of the Mississippi. Oklahoma seems to have the market cornered, and that's a whole nother story for another show and another day, the way Oklahoma does things. And the SEC will get a dose of that in conference soon enough.
I feel like they're like the Tiger Woods of the 90s, early 2000s. They just jumped out of front, and now everybody's having to up their game.
Yeah, it helps that the World Series is played about 15 miles from their campus. But hey, no complaints. We've seen SEC teams go there before and have success. We've seen Georgia beat Oklahoma before. You were talking about maybe moving Sydney up. I'd say, well, who do you move down? I mean, we're talking about two young ladies that had great breakthroughs, but this is a lineup that's loaded with All-Americans. I look at Sydney Kuma, and she plays Major League Baseball defense and looks like she can hit the ball wherever it's at. I see Sarah Mosley and Jada Kearney. These are two of the most prolific power hitters, yet they both hit for average. They're good contact hitters. I mean, this lineup is absolutely loaded. But, Coach, you're getting ready to go into a real hornet's nest. This ACC Pitcher of the Year apparently threw a perfect game, and listening to that Virginia Tech coach, this Florida State team is 3 or 4 deep in pitching. What do you expect from this super regional that starts Thursday night in Tallahassee?
Well, just, we have tons of respect, have a great relationship. They communicated with me, and congratulated us on our weekend. And I was back with them. They're just good friends, and they're great coaches, and both programs, I think, have a mutual amount of respect for each other. Lonnie Almeida, the coach there, and she just is she's a Stanford girl, if that gives you anything to give you. She played at Oklahoma, but she coached at Stanford a long time, and she's just really, really sharp with what she does with their pitchers and how she uses them. And she's very much ahead of the curve in terms of the modern day, like what you see now in terms of openers and people they're just there to get 3 outs, and she uses her people, and they're all very different. So it creates a preparation challenge for us. But at this time of the season, there isn't anything that they have. There's no new trick pitches that we've never seen. Right. So we've faced, all of the different types of pitches, and what it's going to come down to is just competitiveness and execution. We can't give them extra opportunities when they're at the plate. They're fast. They're aggressive on the bases. So we're going to have to play catch. We're going to have to minimize free bases, free opportunities in terms of walks, hit by pitches. We've got to control count. Madison has been great for us. When she's struggled, it's the pitch count per batter is getting up too high. If every hitter is getting 5, 6, 7 pitches per at bat, then that's going to be a long day for us. That was what was great about Shelby. She went 6 innings on 80 pitches this weekend, but in comparison, Kat Standercock for Florida State threw a perfect game on 58 pitches this weekend. So talk about efficiency and somebody that can really move it around and locate. And, I've known Kat for a long time. We were with each other in the junior national team in 2019 with Team USA. And so I'm certainly familiar with them and their program, but obviously we're going to have to go down and play well to get on top. But I also humbly think they're going to have to play well to beat us too. So it's going to be a great matchup, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, kind of matchup that should probably be taking place in Oklahoma City. I was reminded by Josh Brooks today about the NCAA tournament seeding. Josh, the athletic director, really taking up for his team, kind of took note of some of the teams that were seeded higher than Georgia, LSU and Arkansas particularly, both eliminated. Even though Georgia was seeded beneath both of these teams, even though Georgia had their best winning percentage in league play since 2009 and finished second in the league, you get this 14 seed. What in the world? Now you got to go to Tallahassee and play a 3 seed. Again, 2 teams that should probably be meeting in the College World Series. Coach, I can't thank you enough for your time. I really enjoyed coming out to Jack Turner Stadium. I know there's going to be a lot of exciting changes that Josh Brooks is probably going to talk more about later this week. Some upgrades to the stadium. And I know there's going to be a lot of Georgia fans that are going to be watching your team Thursday and Friday night in Tallahassee. So good luck to you down there. And man, you got a whale of a team. They're really hitting the ball well right now.
Mike, I appreciate you being out there this weekend. I appreciate you covering our team, and appreciate you having me on. We're looking forward to getting down there and repping the G and trying to get after it a little bit.
Yep, we're going to see it. Good ball. Only Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee, the only SEC teams that are remaining in the NCAA tournament. Field of 16 now. We're into the super regionals. It's going to be a best of 3 at these various parks around the country this weekend. The final 8 will advance to Oklahoma City. I believe Georgia is the only SEC team on one of those sides of the bracket. So if Coach Baldwin and the Bulldogs can get it going, they could have a clear path, those 2 other SEC teams on the other side of the bracket. So it's going to be very interesting. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight on our Ingles on the Beat program. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to write up that quarterback story. I promise. I think they're all deserving. I want to be clear on that. All I'm saying is that DJ Shockley, he could have won a title. Aaron Murray, you know what? I'm going to throw Eric Zier in there too. No, he's before 2000. There's a lot of great Georgia quarterbacks that could have won titles. I don't know about waiting until 37 to see a dog on that list. Everybody have a great week. Brandon Adams tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. on DawgNation Daily.